Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Facebook Live. I have Amy K. Stanton here with me today. Say hi to Amy. Hi, Amy. She is
Hi,
in
everyone.
beautiful Venice, California. I love the concept. Now, this is my producer calling. So somebody say something if we're not actually live and this isn't actually working. I think it's actually working, but since Alice is calling me right now, it's making me doubt it. But I'm going to soldier on as though it is working. If we see any signs that it's not working, I will continue. Okay, so folks, I'm just gonna get back to my topic, which is debunking your dumbass theories. You know what I love to do. I love to try to change your mind, folks, because again, what was so profound for me to be able to do through Handel group coaching was to change my mind. I thought I was so smart. I thought I knew everything. I really was very sure about a lot of things. And then my coach had the audacity to question what I was thinking and tell me to think a different way. And that changed everything because I was thinking the wrong thing about a lot of things. And I was not thinking consistent with my own highest ideals. One example I just exactly 10 minutes ago told a client was every time I interrupted my husband, I really thought I was helping. I really did. I was like helping him get to his point. And that was an example of a behavior that was totally not consistent with my actual belief system and based on erroneous theories that my coach lovingly debunked. So every week I try, or every few weeks I try to bring in an expert to help us debunk common theories that I find our clients get stuck with. And today we're going to be talking about theories about femininity and the things that are stereotypically considered feminine qualities. And so Amy Stanton here, I met recently at a wellness festival in California. She is the writer of the book, The Feminine Revolution. It has come out recently. It is wonderful. I have already begun it myself. And she's the co-author of that. She also runs a company and has been running a PR and marketing company for years. And her specialty is women-owned businesses and women-targeted businesses. So she is deeply immersed in what women want, how women think, how women feel, what they need, that whole topic. So I'm sure you bring expertise from your personal life, your professional life, and everything to this. And obviously, as an author, you have done us this wonderful benefit of cohesing your theories and thoughts into some main points, which we're going to try to make today. So first I ask you, why did you write the book?
Well, that is a good starting point. It really did stem from my own personal experience because I was for many years what I would call a workaholic. I don't use that word fondly, but it is true. I think work was such a huge part of my life, and I developed this work persona, which was really modeled after men because historically leaders have been men. Power has been represented by men. And so many of us trying to work our way up the corporate ladder develop these more masculine qualities in the workplace. And I'd say many of those really serve me to this day. So my assertiveness, my directness, my ability to be tough, those are super valuable. But I had this realization about 5 years ago that maybe because those had become such a big part of my work persona, I was holding back other parts of my personality, important parts of my personality, my emotionality, my sensitivity, even the fact that I cry easily, my vulnerability. And these are in some ways more me than these other qualities. And the truth is we're all a combination of masculine and feminine, and that we all bring these qualities to the table in balance. But I think for many of us, things haven't been in balance because we felt like we needed to hold back the feminine qualities because they were perceived as weak. So how many times could we be told in the workplace, don't take things so personally, you're being too sensitive, you're being too emotional, stop being so controlling. I mean, these are things we're told in the workplace and out of the workplace. But as women, we're given a lot of messages about what not to be, and all these feminine qualities are perceived as weaknesses. And so I was feeling like things were out of balance. And we talk a lot about work-life balance, but in this case, I was feeling like
your two sides.
Yeah, and I wasn't really letting my true self shine through. And the reason it really became apparent is because I started wondering if maybe I was also bringing this bossy Amy into my personal relationships, and maybe that's why I hadn't met Prince Charming.
It's all connected. I was suspicious it might be true.
Yeah.
And do you make that connection? Do you think it's
Absolutely. Well, I think if we're not allowing ourselves to shine through in one aspect of our lives, there is a good chance that we're not doing that in others. And if you start to believe, and this obviously comes right to the heart of what we're talking about today, if you have a belief system that these qualities are a problem in your life, that you're too much, that you're too emotional, or that you're too sensitive, and that's the language that you're living with all the time, you're going to repress those pieces of yourself, and you're not going to really feel great about yourself, because you're not going to be showing up as your most confident whole self.
And does it really go away, Amy? I don't think it does. What I have found is when we push things down and try to be different, right? I've always joked, like, oh, you think you're so different than your parents? Cheerios and Wheaties are not that different. They're not. They're both cereal. And so it's almost like the more we try not to, the more it comes out anyway, in ways that we are not as able to control. Awesome. And now seems like a really good time too to be discussing this. Like femininity and masculinity are very much up for reinvention, I think. And I think it's safe to say that this is apropos for men to listen to as well. It's not about gender, but it's about these different aspects of ourselves. Is that fair to say?
Unquestionably true. I mean, 2 points. Again, each of us, male or female, we are all a combination of masculinity and femininity. And it's all about finding our own authentic balance. Each of us would have a different version of that. So I may describe myself as sensitive and emotional and a variety of other things, but those things might not resonate for you. And that's okay. You know, in the way we structure the book, we actually outline 21 of these qualities, and we talk about why they've been perceived as feminine historically, why they've been perceived as weaknesses. And then we actually turn that on its head and show that actually our emotionality is powerful. The fact that we can be controlling is actually a good thing. And
okay, that's the one I want to dive into first. Just to be controlling, I would like to zero in on that one first, because that's one of very particular interest to me. And I do a lot, I don't know why. I do a lot of work with couples too. And it is remarkable to see how much each member of the couple does not see the talents and strengths of the other, because they're in such a different mode and way of thinking. And how exactly, I think I'm going to learn a lot from what you're saying, because it's these particular traits that have been cast as negative that actually have this incredible positive side, that if each member of the couple could see all those traits for both aspects, then how much more good teamwork could unfold. Okay, so tell me the bright side of controlling, please.
Well, I really do love what this show is about, because it reminds us all that so much of this is about our lens and our perspective. So, of course, there's the negative side of controlling, which is trying to control everything in a way that you can't ever let go and allow things to unfold, and you drive everyone around you crazy. But the truth is, part of why our controlling nature is actually a powerful thing is because we're great taskmasters. We're organized. We're project managers. We're able to keep all these balls in the air. We're able to make all these things happen. We're detail oriented.
Yes.
And believe me, this one resonates for me too, because I can be a bit of a control freak. But it was another great example of something that for years I might have been beating myself up about. And the truth is, sorry, now my producer's calling me. I don't have a producer yet, but I will someday, maybe. I don't know. Who knows? But I feel like in the end, it's all about, we have so many things we could be beating ourselves up about all the time, and being controlling is certainly one of them. And realizing that actually it's our controlling nature that allows us, I couldn't be a boss and be the boss if I weren't able to be in control. That's just the reality. I couldn't run a business if I weren't controlling in a good way. Right. And so, of course, I spent many years thinking about the negative side of that. And definitely, again, that I thought that was a problem in relationships too. And by the way, anything to the extreme might be. We're not saying wake up tomorrow and transform into this entirely new feminine version of yourself and walk into the office as a different human. We're saying start to look at these qualities in yourself and others, and actually recognize the positive parts of them and the powers in them, and that they may be serving you in ways that you're underestimating.
Right. It's interesting. Again, I'm so present because a couple just left my office, but we really are so conditioned to look at the bad traits for what doesn't work about them. And in the Handel method, we teach that you have a handful of bad traits that you really must evolve, that you must put on a leash. But at the same time, each of those bad traits was likely developed in response to a problem that you were fixing. And there was this I mean, I find it remarkable how much I think I'm doing the right thing when I'm doing my bad traits. Like I really do. Like I often have convinced myself I am trying to help the situation by controlling, by interrupting, by, by creating urgency, by whatever it is that I'm doing. But that dark side is the part that needs to be leashed. And if you can hold the positive with it, and you can have compassion for where it came from and evolutionarily why we are predisposed to it, as well as having compassion for why our counterparts might be the way that they are, then we do have this freedom to change it, right? To be able to change it, shift it, or play either side depending on what's appropriate for the situation.
It's so true. And so much of it is about paying attention and actually starting to recognize these things, both the good parts and the not so good parts. So for example, there's still times, of course, as I've been going through this process of writing the book and launching the book and talking about this, I'm not perfect. I'm still practicing it. I'm still integrating a lot of these theories in my own life. So I still will have a conference call with a client and think, I was a little tougher than I would like to have been. And that just didn't feel totally authentic to me. I leave that and then I think, oh, great. Next time I can go back and approach it differently. But historically, I would have been like, oh, that's the only way I can be. I have to be this bully in order to thrive in my work. But the truth is, I don't. There's a softer, even more seductive, I mean, again, that's another great word, but way of getting things done that doesn't require that sort of masculine energy. So it's figuring out when to use those different parts of ourselves and when they're going to be the most effective.
Yeah. And it actually feels like there's a bit of a backlash from the feminist, from our intention to do what men do well. At least I have felt in my own life an over-adrenalized experience, that what I thought was going to answer what I thought was actually going to feel good, right, was actually going to feel powerful. It actually did feel powerful, but it had a cost to my general sense of well-being, and it cut me off from all of the tools. What if I could have all the feminine, masculine tools and be able to pick in an unbiased form, in an unbiased way, which were most appropriate, again, for the situation, which I think is exactly what you're saying. And I think we've swung a little far into do versus allow, have, invite, entice, seduce, play, flirt, all of those wonderful, quite natural, though I think a certain generation of us may not even know that.
No, it's true. There were some women, I would say, and that don't see that feminism and femininity can go hand in hand. They almost see femininity as a step backwards because they too perceive it as weak. They perceive it as a step away from all the hard work that's been done to fight for equality. Here's the thing. Catherine Connors, my writing partner, and I are both feminists. There's no question about that. We believe in equal opportunity and we recognize how powerful women are. The point is, we're saying some of our powers we are underestimating. We have been refraining from using some of our powers because we've labeled them as weaknesses. And so let's unleash those. Let's allow ourselves to be powerful in an authentic way, in ways that we've never even been able to explore because we'd already sort of shut those parts down.
Right. It feels like a reclamation, like reclaiming
exactly.
And reintegrating all aspects of ourselves, which everybody, we all could use a little bit of. So, okay, let's talk about crying on the job. That's another one I feel very intimately connected to. First of all, why do people think that's bad? And second of all, debunk, please.
Yes. I mean, it's one of my favorites too, because I'm a self-proclaimed crier. I come from a family of criers. I wonder if that was a chicken or egg thing, but I definitely, even my grandfather, who was one of the strongest, most powerful men I knew, was sensitive, and he would tear up sometimes. And I respected him more because he was allowed to show those things. But it's, of course, historically in the workplace, everyone panics if there are tears. That's just, it's definitely perceived as something that is not acceptable in work because it's emotion at its greatest. And we're all told not to be emotional in the workplace, which is a whole other chapter, by the way. But the crying thing specifically is interesting because let's be honest, no one ever wakes up in the morning and goes, you know what? I hope that today I burst into tears in my boss's office. That's going to make a great day. So the truth is, when you cry at work, it is a loss of control, which is human. It is human. We are human. So the real problem with the crying at work thing isn't actually the crying itself. It's how we react to it and how the person across the table reacts to it, which of course we can't control. So our point of view is actually you can use the crying as a way to get closer to the other person. You can use the way you're crying as a way of communicating something that clearly was bursting at the seams and needed to be communicated. So what if you, instead of going, oh my God, I'm crying, I need to take a moment, I'm running to the bathroom, or then you beat yourself up for the next 48 hours, like that was the worst thing that I could have ever done, my career is over. What if in the moment you're able to say, the reason I'm emotional right now is because I care so much about this job, or the reason I'm getting emotional is because I thought I was about to get a promotion, or I thought I was going to get more money. I felt like I did everything possible to make that happen. And then you can use that as a way, first of all, for the person across the table to see how much you care and understand better kind of where you're coming from versus perceiving you as this angry, disgruntled employee, which this has happened to me. So that's why I actually can say I know better now. But the crying part, I couldn't really do anything about. And something you said earlier about, in a way, the minute that you create a license for these things to exist, maybe they become less of an issue. That is absolutely the case with crying, because the minute you're less worried about crying and less worried about being emotional and you can just be yourself, there's less stuff pent up. So you probably aren't even going to cry as much.
Right. And what you're pointing to really is vulnerability. And I think we're all starting to get a little smarter that avoiding vulnerability isn't actually fixing the problem or making the problem go away. And that actually finding ways to feel your feelings and let them move through is actually the healthy way to process feelings. And doing that in front of another human being is the gift of vulnerability, is the gift that makes relationships intimate and great. And that goes for love relationships, that goes for work relationships, and why not at work? And, for people who might be saying, but you don't know my boss, Laurie. You don't know. You don't know. My boss is an asshole. My boss is a man or whatever. I just am here to say I help people all the time fashion conversations that are intimate and vulnerable that may even cause tears because you are scared to say that truth, or you are just overwhelmed with the feelings, all of the feelings, but mostly fear. It works out beautifully. Really, 99.9% of the time, it works out beautifully. Like, the worst that can happen is you don't get the response you want, and you still walk away proud that you were, to use your word, authentic.
Yes, exactly. It's so true, because it's amazing how much energy goes into either trying to hold these parts of ourselves back or beating ourselves up for the way we behaved. But the reality is, we all should just try to allow ourselves to show up as ourselves just even a little bit more. Let's see how that works, and let's see how people respond. It's nuanced, again, not a reinvention, not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, but what if you start to integrate these things in a way that feels a little more free to you? It feels a little more like you're showing yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And then you really can gauge the response. What I have found is mostly people are shocked by how relieved the other person is. And I teach this on Match.com too, where I teach this in dating, JDate on the apps. I do webinars, and I'm literally teaching people, other people do want to know the truth. We've done surveys. It's like people actually want to know what you're actually thinking and feeling, and everyone's busy playing PR agent. Sorry, no industry, but presenting themselves as something that they're not, and expecting to feel intimate and close and connected and real. And you never can. You never can feel that love if it's not the real you showing up. So start experimenting, baby steps, and collect actual real life evidence. Does it feel better or not? Does it work or not? And let those other people rise to the occasion. Be the leader, be the change. Okay, thank you for letting me get on my soapbox. Last but not least, I want to talk about sensitivity. And again, I'm so present to all the couples I work with and how much the woman's sensitivity, it has led to her being hurt, right? It has led to, it's just too much information coming in. It's like, it's too much seeing what's wrong. It's too much, everybody needs me. It feels like a detriment. It feels like a liability. So let's talk about it as an advantage, please.
Yes. Well, there's no question I see it that way at this point. And this is another one that I've dealt with personally for many years, because it goes hand in hand with the crying, I'm sure, but I've always been sensitive. And for many years, I'm sure my mom told me that growing up. And then in the workplace, I'd have performance reviews where they'd say, don't take things so personally, you're being too sensitive. And what does that do? It causes us to build this armor where we walk around at least pretending like these things aren't affecting us, which by the way, they still are. But okay. So that's there is the negative side of taking things personally. This is not about that. This is recognizing the powerful parts of sensitivity. Sensitivity is all about collecting information. It's sensing how people are feeling. It's sitting in a conference room with your client and sensing how they're experiencing the presentation and why they reacted that way. So then you can act on it. Or walking into the office and noticing that something is a little off with one of your employees, sensing that you need to act on that and being able to sit down with them. So in all respects, I'd say that part of sensitivity, which is about collecting information and using that information to complement the more quantitative, hard-hitting data, that is really powerful. I mean, as a leader, there's no question I could be as good at my job as I am, some days better than others. But if I didn't use this quality time and time again, and it goes hand in hand with intuition, which is another chapter that we feature in the book, but it's really about reading what's happening around you and using these qualities we have, our senses, to pick up on real information and recognizing that that's real information and that that's important information for us to be using meaningfully in our work and our personal life and beyond.
And I would personally like to underline this to the men that are listening, and I hate to be stereotypical, or you could pass this on if you're a woman, but if men could appreciate women's sensitivity, that would be something, right? If couples or work partners, and it's not even about men and women, it's about the masculine and feminine, but we are so hurt by a woman's sensitivity, right? We get hurt by it. We think it means something bad. We've done something wrong. And I see a lot in this and a lot in couples, right? Her sensitivity means I've done something wrong. I'm under the looking glass. I'm always being criticized. I'm always being nitpicked. I'm always being nagged. She's so sensitive. She sees everything. Why can't she drop it? Why can't she let things go? Why can't she stop caring so much and observing so much and sensing so much and just have a beer and watch a football game? Like, why can't you just, right? So so there really is a side effect to that on the other person. But hot tip for the other person, if you can realize what an advantage to the team it is to have somebody who's sensitive on the team, and if you can applaud and cheer for the sensitive person on the team and go, how should we use this skill? Let's use it to read the room when we network. Let's use it to read the room when we are at a party. Let's use it to read if the children are lying, right? Let's use this sensitivity for our common goals instead of, focusing on the negative side effects. Okay, I think I may have lost Amy because she is frozen in this position now for several moments. So, Amy, I love you. I'm going to talk about you for a minute in front of your frozen face, assuming that this Facebook Live is still continuing and you may come back. Okay, so on that note, femininerevolutionbook.com. femininerevolutionbook.com is where you can look at more about that book and buy that book. Stanton-company.com is Amy's company. So I do want to say that, where if you need to find out more about the book or about her, you can follow up in that way. For those of you who are still listening to me, I also want you to know Inner You, the new Inner You digital program where our entire method is given to you in self-serve form, is in early bird right now, and it is launching March 20th. It is now a $50 off discount to Amy's people. So if you're listening and you're one of Amy's people, you actually have a special code, which will be listed right here on the page, where you can get $50 off. And if you buy Inner You, the digital Handel Group coaching program, before March 20th, you also will get a ton of bonuses, including a live call with our founder and the creator of the Handel Method, Lauren Zander. So that's a very exciting opportunity right now that people need to know about and need to act on. Additionally, if you want to learn more about Handel Group coaching, which helps you change your mind about the things in your life that are not working, the things health-wise, career-wise, money-wise, love-wise, relationship-wise, all the wises, you can talk to a human for 30 minutes, totally for free, totally no obligation, and find out more about Inner You, our digital program, our live coaching, our one-on-one coaching, our courses. We're teaching a bunch around the globe this year. So I highly recommend that if you are interested in coaching, you look into that free consultation that we offer. And that will also be in the link here under this Facebook Live. Thank you all for listening. I hope that you feel freer and more available to all the aspects of yourself after having and listening to this conversation. And I hope you use all of that for good. Have a wonderful day, folks.